Hey folks, Rick Barron with the Lincoln Vlogs, here to discuss month 2 of the new year and where we're going from here. For our purposes here, this is a universal reading for everyone. And if you wish to determine your personal cycle, you can reach out to me with your email address. We're glad to help you with those calculations. February being the second month of the year, this is a recessive time that the 2 represents, not necessarily a time to push forward. January is the first month of the year where we begin to plot and plan, whereas in February, we want to build on what was tossed around last month. Please keep in mind that an overall perspective, the year 2017, when you combine the 2, 0, 1, and 7 together, it was a 1 year in a 9-year cycle. It was the beginning. This is like climbing the stairs, the first step and the 9th step being the end of the cycle, your goal, if you will, for the next 9 years. We had a presidential election in 2016, which was a 9-year, or the end of the 9-year cycle. President Obama did what he could to dismantle some of the basic structures of the nation over those 8 to 9 years. And now a new president was elected during the end of that cycle. President Trump began his presidency in a 1 year, as it should be, 2017, in the natural order of things. As you have witnessed, the new president set forth his agenda, transitioned his forces into place, and has set those programs into motion. You should be doing the same thing since this report is essentially for everyone. If you set your sights on the year 2025, that will be the end of the 9-year cycle, where you want to be at that time. 2026 will begin the cycle all over again as a 1 year, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6. This is life in the natural world. You can fight it or you can flow with it at your choice. As stated, 2018 is the second year in that particular cycle, which is designed to continue or advance your plan that you formulated in the 1 year, whatever that may have been. Perhaps you started school, perhaps you began a business or a marriage or a family. Maybe you moved to a new state or city with plans to build on who you are and begin anew. Makes no difference. This year you will continue that project. Eliminate any leftovers from the previous year or years that you no longer need as you survey the landscape. Prioritize that which is critical to your plan. Refine your paradigm by a short-term set of goals. A year is good, and a long-term projection of those goals over 9 years is where you're headed. The same with the months. January is the beginning month, February the second month, as I said, a recessive month. March, the third month, is a time for greater expression. And of course, we head into spring. One can also dissect the year that we find ourselves in by merely looking at the numbers involved. We have a 2, a 0, a 1, and an 8. That's what makes up this vibrational number that surrounds us. The 2 being recessive, it's a time to pause from the push that we went through in the 1 year. It's a time to stabilize before the next push forward. Allow the forces put into place to work, all the while monitoring their progress. The 0 in 2018 means within. It's a closed circle. It's a time to look at oneself. Look at the flaws within our nation. A time for review. And criticism. And judgment, as long as it's positive and for the purposes of improvement. The 1 is for independent thought, independent action, a time to formulate a plan, be creative, do not accept the status quo, be the leader, take charge. The 8 is a power number, big money, corporate advances. Look at what just occurred with the tax plan. Stock market, corporations are moving forward under this vibration. So you see there are many layers to this life, not just one aspect. Furthermore, when we refer to the year, it's described as 2018, or two separate vibrations. There is the 20 and the 18. We say these numbers all the time, involuntarily. Yeah, what year it is? 2018. It's the number 20 is the number of judgment. Please keep in mind that this number will be with us for the next 82 years through 2099. People will be discussing and arguing about every conceivable subject and freely passing judgment on each other. My book, Judgment Squared, Year 2020, speaks directly to that year when judgment will be multiplied by itself, in addition to it being another presidential election year. One may have thought that this past election was rough. Wait until the upcoming election. With judgment comes a call for fairness, a weighing of the evidence before speaking. One should not just shout out an opinion or criticism without forethought, mainly because this kind of behavior does not advance the dialogue, nor does it advance the species. We must maintain a high standard while constantly striving to make improvements. In today's world, we're not always doing that. Many times people are merely speaking out of frustration and a perceived need to be heard, which is fine. But let's do it in a manner in which we advance the species. Infighting solves nothing. The 18, the other half of the year's numbers, reflects a 9 vibration, 1 plus 8. The 9 is a universal number that contains all of the attributes of the previous 8 numbers, 1 through 8, and will therefore push people out into the public forum. Yes, this is also an election year, so the crazies will be out in full force. We just had the Women's March this past weekend. Fortunately, it was relatively civil, but not necessarily balanced. I believe the impression given by the participants was that you either agreed with their view or get out. You were unwelcomed. This perspective does not truly serve anyone. I hope they had a good time, but truthfully, they did not accomplish anything with that basis for a march or their attitude towards others. The my way or the highway is not productive. This was more of the boisterous 9 vibration than any true logically clear thinking. This was women venting. Wonderful. Because quite frankly, I'd rather be watching football or burning trash. And speaking of trash, in the 70s, at least they took their tops off and burned them. We had none of that here. And so back to February, which will be here sooner than you think, is the month to gather additional information, support, or to extend your foundation of knowledge. Not necessarily a time to push projects forward. This continues to be a time of building, not launching. This is a time to observe what had been agreed or implemented in the 1 year. One can use the tax plan as an example. This would be a time to reflect upon the plan's ramifications as they apply to this tax year, and then you apply them to your own situation. Let's keep in mind that each monthly cycle is essentially a 30-day projection. In other words, these are short-term goals, because the following month will be here, in this case March, which is the 3rd month of the year, and a 5 universal month, which we'll get into then next month. The natural world is a very complex system of layers, or strata, as I like to think of it. Not one size fits all. Yes, February is the 2nd month of a 12-month year, but when you combine that too with the year 2018, or the 2018, you have 2018 also as a 2 year, and February as a 2 month. Now the resulting universal month is under the vibration of a 4. When you combine these two aspects to understand how they function together, 2-month and a 2-year, the result is a 4. On a scale of 1 to 9, the 2 and the 4 are on the lower earthly plane of the scale. So the tendency is towards the mundane. It's a time of building, learning, and constructing, all the time advancing, but not as a cohesive unit just yet. Perhaps one has a website to be completed, a sales staff that has to be trained, a new product has to be added, or maybe you're expecting a newborn. These are all viable options in the middle of development. We are not ready to unveil the big reveal. So as you know, for most of the nation, February is still locked in the throes of winter, and perhaps some of the worst weather is yet to arrive. In the South, February is a time of transition from winter to spring, because down here in March comes spring break. And so we have a parallel of forces, which is the 2-month in parallel with the 2-year. As stated, the 4 is the foundational number. It symbolizes 4 legs on a table, 4 sides to a wall. We build foundations and solidify our base during this time. This is how one flows in motion with the natural order of our world, not resisting it, but flowing with it, which is where you will find your success. Resistance, fighting the tides, or challenging nature is not prudent. You're welcome to continue to fight nature all you wish, but you will lose. Stay with the flow and your plan. Keep it simple. We're still on the lower plane of life within the 9-year cycle. When we arrive at year 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 vibrations, overall momentum will increase our own personal activity. We are not there yet. We're only making preparations by building the foundations to withstand those future effects. Thanks for listening. Again, I could be wrong, but doubtful. Thank you.